Hi everyone, I do apologise for the little technical error on my end, so I'm so sorry. Welcome to tonight. I'm excited because I'm going to be doing my risotto, which I'm going to do the Puntanesca, which is based on olives and anchovies. But I'll give you a few more moments to jump on board. I'd like to welcome you all, and also like to say Vanessa is at the other end in Sydney to answer all your questions. I do want to apologise last time if I went a bit too fast with my demonstration of my cooking. I will try and slow it down tonight. So anyway, are you ready to cook? Because I am. Hope you got the list of ingredients, so I'll give you a few more seconds to do that. So we need onion. We also need some anchovies. Now for people who don't like anchovies, don't stress. We can substitute that with mushrooms if you like. If you don't like mushrooms, we can leave that out altogether. We've got some olives. If you don't like olives, again, you can leave it out. So this is virtually the basics. I've also got some capers as well. So I'll just start this. Okay, so I'll just get my onion, which is already peeled. And we're gonna pop this into the bowl. Helps if I have it turned on. Okay, we're going to be using the expert mode tonight to do the risotto. So close my lid. Now I'm going to set this on 10 seconds. So I'm not going to over chop the onion. That probably is the best way of doing it. So I'll just go down to 10 seconds. Oh, what am I doing? That's right, let me just go back out. Start again. Okay. Bring it down to 10 seconds. Oh, what I'm doing, I think I'm nervous tonight, don't know why. Start again, bring it down 10 seconds on the minus. And I think it's because I'm working back to front. Here we go. So when I turn it on, right, it will show the blade on speed 3. So I'm going to start on speed 3 and bring it up to speed 13. So press auto. Move the blade along and increase it to 13, and that will be sufficient. Stop. Okay, now I'm going to scrape it down. Now we're going to add our oil. We're going to cook this. We're going to saute it. So what I'll do, saute that for 2 minutes. On 1A, 120. So I'm adding approximately about 4 tablespoons of oil. Now some would say to add butter. I do mine without the butter. I add the butter towards the end. So the lid goes on. The cap is off, so we want the vapors to come out. Now I'm going to select 2 minutes. We're going to add 2 minutes on. I think what threw me off tonight was actually because it was playing up on my end. Now bring this down to 1A. 1A, and we're going to do 120 degrees. So, and bring it down to 1. I'm not pretty good at this, but usually it's facing towards me. Okay. Now we press auto, and that will cook. So the 1A is the alternative blades spinning around, so you don't have to stand there. So normally when I'm preparing this is a good time to get your other ingredients out. So you'll need to get your capers, your anchovies and your olives. So I've got them all out. So I have about 2 tablespoons of capers with about 40 grams. Yeah, about 40 grams. I'm using about 5 anchovy, about 20 grams, and 60 to 70 grams of Kalamata olives, which have been pitted. So you can buy them ready made. I'll just go, got my stock boiling away because I want to use a hot stock. Now with the rice, I'm actually using the Coles brand rice. I can't always get the proper canelli rice. It's not always easy to get here. As long as it's a short grain rice, that's what we need. Short grain, and you do not rinse it. One big mistake is a lot of people do rinse their rice. In risotto making, we don't rinse the rice. So while this is heating up, I'll just get my other ingredients over here. And shouldn't be too long. I love how it sizzles up. Now, once I add this in, I want to cook this down. So traditionally when you're doing it in a pan, the anchovies and will sort of melt, like, yeah, disappear in the oil. So I don't need to chop anything up, so pop that all in shortly. Very soon we should have it all coming out. That's thrown away. Just be careful with the heat. Always turn the lid away from you. Just show what it looks like. For the ones that's curious, it's nice and sauteed. Now I'm going to add 5 anchovies. You can add more if you like that saltiness, but I think 5 is usually sufficient. Now the calamansi olives, pop that in. I rinse them, so I'm taking a bit of saltiness away, and the capers as well. Pop them in as well. Now we cook this. Also, still remain at the 120 on the 1A, and I'm going to be about 3 minutes on this one. So we're going to select the time at 3 minutes. Oops, too much. Hope you've all had a great weekend. I've got my mum's birthday this Sunday coming up, so I'm looking forward to celebrating that. Good excuse to bake. Okay, so 3 minutes on 1A at 120. So now with the rice. So once all this is cooked, I'll explain to you with rice. So we need a short grain rice, not long grain, not basmati, a medium grain rice, like the calorized rice, the Arborio rice. They all work. I have once made, I ran out of rice during COVID time. I had sushi rice and I made it with sushi rice. It worked as well. The secret to the rice, when you're making risotto, if it's on the pan or in here, is you need to coat the rice in the hot oil fat with butter. If you don't toast it, what happens is it breaks away easily. So I've used different brands of rice. It doesn't really matter, but the only difference is the liquid, how it absorbs. So some brands will absorb more, some will take less. So depends where it comes from. That shouldn't be too long. I should have my water, hot stock vegetable ready. Bring it over. Pipe and hot. So I'm actually using a vegetable broth stock, which I made with celery, tomato, onion, and I kind of strained it away, so it's kind of a clearish yellow type of broth. And once I love the smell of it. We should have a smell button. So is anyone that's thinking of buying Cook Expert and you're not sure, you want to ask questions, you know you can book a demonstration with me, and I'll help you go through the steps with you and answer your questions regarding the Cook Expert. I'm actually using mine every day. If it's not the expert, it'll be the food processor, sometimes both. Okay, we're almost there. I want to show you what it looks like when I open this up. So I have about 320 grams of the Arborio rice. Now, do you know where rice came from, how it was introduced to Italy? It actually came, the Arabs introduced in the Middle Ages to Europeans, so to Italy and to Spain. And I'll give you a little more about the history of it a bit later on. There's so many different versions of it. And we're almost there. love to be able to have that interaction with the person on the other end. I suppose what Vanessa is there for, she does it for me. And have you been watching her on tbsp? Oh my God, it's amazing how she does it all. Okay, so again, turn it away so I don't want the steam coming towards my face. Now I'll push everything down. This is where I want to add the rice. So I just want to show you how gentle the wine A is, that my olives and capers, I don't know if you can see that, are still there, still whole. It hasn't chopped it up or anything at the moment. So now the next step is we're going to add the rice. So I'm going to add my rice. I'm still leaving it on 120. So we need to toast it. I want to make sure, so I'm going to make this 1 minute. Now, no, go back. So sorry. No. Okay, I made a mistake there. Okay, so we're going to go down to 1 minute. Okay, I'm still going to leave this on, I just went on 2A. We're going to bring it down to 2A, and the temperature, which will be 120 again, I'll bring it down to 120. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is about 30 seconds, I'm going to open it and I'll push down the rest of the rice, because I want every grain of rice to be coated with the oil and make sure it's toasted. Now I'm going to show you, I don't know if you can see it, the rice will start to look like that little white bit, that translucent white bit, like a nut. So I want to make sure it's all covered. Because then I'm going to add the wine to it. If you don't want to add wine, we need wine to make it acidity. That will help bring out the flavours. So very short, I'll add the wine. If you don't want to add wine, you can just leave it out. We just add stock. So, but we need to cook it for 4 minutes in total. So after 1 minute, I'll add the wine. Add the time 3 minutes, and then we'll get the rest of the ingredients ready. And this is great because you're not really standing there continuously stirring. You can always duck in and do something else. And with the blades turning, there's not actually chopping the grains of the rice or the olives or the capers, not in there. Okay, great. So add 3 minutes. So I need 1. Right, continue. Now I'm going to add my wine. Still at 120 and on 2A. Even though I've done this many times, in fact I'm doing live, I think I get a little bit nervous. Why do I have 2 splashes? Beats me because I'm always losing them. So I have 240 ml of Passata. So I do have basil added in there. So once this is ready, like what I do is I add about a cup first of the broth stock, and then I'll add the rest in. So then I'll have, and then you'll put up with me for another 18-20 minutes. I should have the camera facing down so you can see how it's cooking. I'd like to know where you're all from. If you're from Sydney, from Melbourne, from Perth, probably be behind, from Tassie, right, Queensland, Northern Territory, all over the world. So let me know where you're coming from tonight and who's cooking with me tonight. Let me know if I'm going a bit too fast. And that should almost be there, another minute. I love Cook Expert. It just frees up so much of my time. And risotto is one of those things that you can make in advance as well too, and make arancini out of it as well. So this is all evaporating. So once I add the stock in, we actually do change the setting. I'm still on expert mode. We go to about 18 minutes on speed 4. And what it does is, as you're stirring continuously, the actual rice will like start creating the creaminess of it, so it bumped into each other and create that nice cream. The starches of the rice will make it nice and creamy, and you'll see at the end how lovely it is. I hope I haven't jinxed myself tonight. Almost there. I'll just pour a cup's worth first. Well, this is how I do it, so maybe there's other techniques. Okay, so now I'm trying to show you what stage it looks like, and you can still see that the olives are still whole, they haven't been mashed up or anything, but it will be by the end of it because we continue stirring, but that's what we're at the moment. Just push down all the rice bits. So you're probably asking, how come in restaurants they do it so quickly and when they do a risotto? You know why? Because they use a very, very large pan, and that large pan can spread out the rice very, very evenly. So now I'm going to select the time as 18 minutes. I'm just going to get this one right. See, I'm not so nervous now. Bring it over to increase the speed to 4. And I'm going to drop the temperature. I don't want it cooking too high. 100 degrees is a good temperature to cook this. Oh, I'm going down. So I'm just looking at down a little reflection. Okay, I'll turn this on. I'm going to auto. So now I'll put my first cup. So that will get it going first. And now all the grains of the rice have been all picked up in the first lot of, just give it a moment to sort of absorb. So usually on a stove, you actually add in bit by bit, like a ladle by ladle, waiting to absorb. So I kind of worked out, but this is how it works well for me. The next step is, I'll combine, so I've got some basil here inside the tomato paste. I want to bring the tomato passata, sorry, not paste, to the temperature. So now I'm going to add the rest. You see the leaves going in. And then I put the cap on. So I've got every little bit in there. Oops. Now I've placed the cap on nice and tight, and I love that you can close the lid with the cap on, and when you lift the lid up, the cap doesn't have to come falling off like the other brands do. So that's one good point. So now we've got like 16 minutes left. I did mention in the ingredients that I sprinkle a bit of dried parsley. What I normally would do is I'll just dehydrate it in a dehydrator or in the oven, and then I use my little attachment on my blender power to actually grind it. If you haven't tried at a time you don't have that fresh parsley, I discovered a cheat version. So I get my green dry parsley, and pop half of it in, and you grind it up in the mill attachment, and it creates a nice powder. Just show you what powder looks like. So this is left over from last time. It actually does keep for a very long time. So that grinded up in the mill attachment, and makes great decoration. And sometimes I'll use it in soups or in sauces. And that way, people who don't like parsley don't see it because it's so tiny and it's already in there. So that's a little trick which I came across. Now I'll be also using, this is the fresh mozzarella which I add. You can either shred it or have it as a whole bowl. I might as well check out the brine in it now. So you can shred it or leave it whole and then let everyone take its own piece. So I've got that. And I've also got some Parmesan cheese which has been grated. I used the Parmesan just to grate my cheese. So I grated 250 grams of Parmesan the other day, and I'll just reserve some for tonight. Now chilli is also an option with this recipe. Alla puntanesca, which means it's a quick dish which was you can create it late at night time, come home, just fry it. So you always have chili. That's optional. You can leave that out. So now, what do I do? We have a bit of trivia. I just told you a bit about. I wrote this out because I might forget. Okay, so the Arabs introduced the rice to Italy and to Spain. The Italians seem to make their dishes a bit better. So how did the risotto come about? So because the Arabs introduced the spices to the European world, saffron was one of them. So there's a bit of a debate, who says what. So one of the churches had asked a maestro to do a glass dome, and one of his assistants decided to play a joke because saffron was also used not only to cook with it, they also used saffron to colour paint and fabrics as well. So that was something that they did. So the assistant decided that it'd be funny if he turned his meal, the rice dish, into yellow, making it, a yellow risotto. So that's how the risotto alla puntane, which is that yellow rice risotto, which came about. It's become famous. What else can I say? The rice itself, as I said to you before, we need to toast it. It doesn't matter if it's on the pan or in here, but if you don't toast it well enough, at least 1 minute, coat it, it will break up, and that's the secret to the rice. What have I got here? Oops, yeah. No? 3, 4, 12 minutes. What else? I've just kind of lost for words now. I had it all worked out, but yeah. So we're going to be using butter. Because it's a creamy consistency, we add the starches of the rice are being released. So to make it more creamy, you add butter. Some like to add butter with the oil when they're frying it, and half of it towards the end. I do mine all towards the end, where I love that sort of creamy butterness for it. The Cook Expert, wonderful. So you've got 20 minutes, you can do what you like, you can prepare another meal, a salad at the same time, help the kids with the homework. What else? Yeah, it just gives you that time to do it. When you're standing here talking to yourself, it's like forever, but anyway. Tell me, has anyone made something really exciting using the Cook Expert, like a baking, like they've created an old recipe which they've converted into their Cook Expert? I'd love to know if you have, and would you share it as well, because that's something which sharing with the community is also wonderful too. So what I'm going to be doing this weekend, this is my mum's birthday, I'm planning to make the gluten-free orange cake. It's an orange cake with I steam the oranges in the steam and Cook Expert, and then I actually grind my almonds in here using the bowl. Once the oranges are nice and cool, I just blend the whole thing using the cake mode. I'll use that with the oil and sugar and the oranges, whole oranges, which will be blended up easily with baking powder. But what I'll be doing this time round is actually getting the oranges, using the food processor first. I will slice it using the 4mm slicer. I need to get fine little oranges so I can fit in the nice, perfectly round ones in the shoot. And then I'll cook them in a syrup with sugar and water. And then I'm going to lay the sliced oranges down the bottom, put the batter on top, cook it. I'm going to turn it upside down. It should look pretty. I haven't done it, but in theory it sounds good. And you probably can start to see, if you're cooking with me, that the grains are starting to plump up. We've got another 10 more minutes of this. I've been making lots of food lately. What have I been doing? Sourdough. It's something which I like to do, creating my own starter. But if I don't have time to make my own starter, I'll actually do like a simple version. It's like an overnight sourdough starter, which I use a bit of yeast, about less than half a teaspoon, about 100 grams of plain baker's flour, 100 grams of rye flour, and then about 100 ml of water. And I mix that up, and I actually leave it in the cook expert when I do it. I actually leave it in here if you don't need like cooking with it. So I'll mix it all in here, leave it overnight for the following morning, and then add all my flour in here. But when I do, I also make sure that I'm using the dough hook. I'm not using the normal black, because the actual sourdough, the dough blade works better in mixing, because it's got a stronger drive to mix the sticky dough. Yeah, so then next morning I add all my flour, 400 grams of flour, and about, I think it's about 200 ml of water. Mix it all up, and then I'll leave it in here for proofing as well. Proofing about 2 hours or more, and I'll do that. The blaze it's always on 0, and the setting that I use is actually it's set the time, so about 3 to 4 hours, depending on the ambient of my house. Set 0 blaze and temperature between 36 to 37 degrees. And then once it's all nice and risen, you usually have nice little bubbles in it to say it's ready. And I'll tip it out, fold it over. I have special folds. I'd love to be able to show you how to fold the bread and how to do that. If I could, condense the whole thing for you, and that way you'll see how easy it is. Because the folding technique with sourdough is important to create the nice bubbles, and also a hot oven. Maybe it's something which I should look into. It shouldn't be too long, but another 7 more minutes. Now, when you're making a risotto, you're probably thinking it's got too much liquid. You need to let it rest, so it will absorb all the liquid. So I usually let it rest about a minute or 2, sometimes up to 5, in there before I will dish it out. I'll bring all these ones next to me. I'm contemplating, should I actually add chilli to this tonight? What have I got left? 5 more minutes. Seems like forever when rice go around. But it's kind of soothing at the same time. So we're making soups. Now we've got colder weather. I know here in Tassie we've been making a lot of soups lately as well, which I find it's easy and nourishing as well. Quick and easy. You can make a fair bit, put in the freezer, take it out if you need it, or if you're going shopping, you come home to a nice hot meal. That's something which I quite enjoy doing, especially if you've got the ends of the week where you clear out your fridge and you go, right, what do I have? The other day I bought cauliflower. I hadn't used it. I thought, it looked a bit sad, so I chopped it all up, put it in there, added an onion. That's all I added was an onion. Yeah, onion and carrot, I think. Like, a little bit sad. Chopped up the cauliflower, added some vegetable stock. I got the other stock paste, which a tablespoon of that, water in there, set it on cream soup, beautiful. I made a dairy-free version for people who can't have dairy. Then I added a bit of, I had some Philadelphia cream cheese, which I cut to pieces, and I added that in there as well after it was puree. I sort of popped it in there, reset the the cream soup down, so I brought down the speed back down to timer, 1:30, because I want to again blitz it again for make it nice and creamy, and that made it really nice as well. You should be able to start seeing your grains are plumping up by now. It's kind of tempting to sort of open it up and see. So we've done this for 18 minutes. So then I add another 2 more minutes. So don't worry if it looks a bit liquidy. So don't think, oh my God, it's too liquid. It will absorb all that liquid. So I usually, as I said, just leave it a few minutes. Maybe because I stopped and started, I don't know. It's getting there. Love to be able to hear what you guys are thinking right now. Are you cooking with me? Have you cooked Vanessa's dishes? That was nice, so quick, easy, speedy bolognese. That was, great how she used a food processor and she chopped up all the vegetables, to sort of speed up the cooking, and also it's a great way of hiding vegetables too, and using the mince and cooking it. You want to get a meal quickly on the table, and that is a really, really fantastic recipe, especially if you're using the ricini pasta, which I don't have any at the moment here too in Tassie, so almost there. How much longer do we have? Not much longer, 2 minutes. Got my chilies. I usually find that I don't normally add salt, because I find there's enough salt from the anchovies, from the capers, from the olives. Then when you add your Parmesan cheese, it's also got enough salt in there. And I'm using unsalted butter, but I find that's enough salt in there. But you can always add to it. I've done this with the chili mushrooms. And when you soak the chili mushrooms, don't throw the water away. I actually use that as part of the stock in there, and that enhances like that nice rich flavour. I haven't done double batch this at all. Usually I find that's enough, for 3 or 4 people. Okay, almost there. Yeah, another minute. I'll be able to show you what it looks like, what state it should be. So your liquid by now, which was a bit watery, should now start to thicken up a bit. These batters are great, but they can, you know, like pull off the silicone and off the metal bit for scraping down the bottom and things get burnt. I've got this lady that gave me a recipe, which I haven't tried, the risotto, using tuna, lemon juice and rocket, and I want to try that one. Oh look, it's stopped now. Again, give it a stir. Now it is, I'll just show you, maybe I'll bring that lower. It will still, maybe if I bring the spoon up. Okay. So that's how it should look like, right? Now give another 2 more minutes and it shouldn't be like soggy at all. So I'll just now add the butter. Now add I've got about 60 grams of grated, which I grated the cheese, Parmesan cheese. I'm going to add 2 minutes. Oh. 1, 2. And that's now to gently combine everything in. As I said, it will be a bit liquidy, but it will absorb it. So once you put it into the plate or bowl in serving size, it will absorb all the rest of it. So give it another 2 minutes at the end of it. I will take mine out early because I want to show you what it looks like, and then by the time you get to the table, it'll be just right. You don't want the rice to be soggy. It needs still to be tender, like that sort of like bite to it. And it should taste nice. Get my spoon out. As I do apologise for the technical error before, so we are running a bit over time. That's worth it. Let me know how you go with it. Always here to help you and guide you along with any of the recipes. And as I said, I do this all the time. It's always, I have my own little formula. That's what I tend to use. I'm happy with it. I hope you enjoy it as well. So another, how long? A few more seconds. Now this is where I will normally let it sit for about 2 minutes before I'll pour it out. Because of time frame, I'll take it out. Now, so I've got a nice, where's my big spoon go? So it's nice and creamy. I'll pour it in. Helps if I remove the tea towel. Now this is where place it in there. Make a bit of a mess here. Then I'm sprinkling on some of the parsley, which been blended using the mill attachment from Power Blender on top. And we're not using coriander tonight. Sorry Vanessa, we're using parsley instead. So there you have it, everyone. This is my risotto alla puttanesca. I hope you enjoyed it. And as I said, this will thicken up. And thank you very much for watching. Until next time. Thank you. Bye.